Hey everybody, it's Ryan with Ryan Industrial. I am repairing my chainsaw today, and I thought I'd do a little how-to on repairing your saw. It's a Husqvarna 338 XPT with a no oil for the chain. First and foremost, you want to make sure just that your reservoir is full. I checked my reservoir; it's full, and you want to go ahead and check your there's a little screen in there, filter, as well as a hose. You want to make sure that there's no plugged up or anything like that. Everything looked fine, so I'm going to have to dig a little bit further to diagnose this thing properly. At that point, you want to go ahead and take your cover off. Make sure your brake is in the off position. Go ahead and take this puppy off. Okay, once you've got your cover and your bar out and your chain, there's a plate right here. You're going to want to remove this out of the way, set this aside, and as you can see inside there's a channel right here, a groove. And right there is the weep hole for the oil injector. You're going to want to make sure this is a common area to fill up with sawdust and plug up the hole there. Go ahead and wash that if it is plugged up. When I tore my saw apart, it wasn't plugged up or anything, so I knew I had to dig a little bit further into the saw to figure out the problem. At this point, to test it, you can just go ahead and spin the drum the same direction as the chain, and as you can see, nothing's coming out. If you do that and you do get some oil coming out, then maybe you just had a plug up or something was wrong, or you need to adjust the saw right there, and that adjusts how much oil comes out on the chain. So I spun this around, knew there was a problem, so now I'm going to have to dig a little bit further. Underneath the drum here is the drive gear. Here's just an example drive gear that I have. And this is driven off the drum, which drives the pump, which then injects the oil onto the chain. So we're going to go ahead and take the clutch off here. It is a 19mm. I go ahead and use my air gun. It's the easiest way to get it off. It is opposite. It's clockwise to remove it and counterclockwise to tighten it. So you want to go on your, make sure you're on your right setting. So once the clutch is out, you go ahead and remove that. Go ahead and inspect it. Check the springs. Make sure everything's wearing evenly. Everything looks good. And then go ahead and take your drum off. There's a spacer in here as well. Set that aside. Actually, at this point, you can go ahead and check your teeth here, your drive teeth for your chain. If they're really grooved, nasty, or anything like that, you're going to have to want to replace this. And then also underneath that, there's another set of teeth here, and that is what drives the actual oil pump gear. Here's the old gear that came out of my saw. I brought this part for example. I need to order this part. Once you take the drum out, inspect it, all looks good. Go ahead and take the bearing out. I like to use high temp grease when I go ahead and reassemble this. Go ahead and pack a little grease in there. Go ahead and put it back in. And then here is the gear I had to get out when I diagnosed it. I did have to crack it and break it, but as you can see, the gears are stripped out, and that's why it wasn't delivering oil. Here's a good example, even though it's the wrong part, where you can see the gears are nice and even and not worn. And then you can see this one where it just looks like a mess. Which I don't know how well you can see it. It's located right here, right on the top here. Try to get some more light in there. Now when you go ahead and remove the gear, you want to inspect this whole area here for any broken pieces of material, the plastic from the old gear. Also, you want to check all the teeth on the the pump here and make sure there's no pieces of gear broken off or stuck to there. Sometimes it'll even, I've seen it melt and completely cover the pump, and you have to go in there with a pick and clean it out. And if you don't do that, you're just going to destroy the new pump, or the new drive gear, excuse me. And as you can see, with me moving this up and down, I'm getting some bubbles coming out of the oil injector, and a little bit of oil's coming out. So I know my pump's good at this point. So I know this is the culprit, and this repair is a very common repair. These things fail quite a bit. So once you have your new part, you do want to observe how the thread is. If it's clockwise or counterclockwise. On this particular pump, it is clockwise because the chain goes clockwise, so it's going to spin with the drum with the chain. So when you go ahead and set it in, before you do, actually, you're going to want to make sure to clean all this out. I'm going to reassemble this without having the new part. I'm going to have to order it and get it this week, but just to show you. So when you go ahead and put the new part in, it's not just going to want to fall in. It's going to be it's going to stop at the drive gear. So when you go ahead and put it in, you're going to want to turn it clockwise until it completely seats underneath this lip here, underneath this ridge. If you don't do that, when you go ahead and torque your clutch back on and put your drum, it's just going to crack it again. So make sure it's fully seated. And once it's fully seated, you're going to go ahead and put your bearing with the new bearing grease back on there. And then with the drum, when you put the drum back on, you're going to want to make sure that you match those grooves with the grooves here on the drum. And if you don't, then it's going to crack, and then you're going to have to replace it again. So when you go to put it back in, make sure, as you can see, it's off, but if you just spin it a little bit, it'll finally seat all the way. It's going to want to be completely flush. So when you have the new gear back in there, slide the drum on, take a look underneath, and then just turn the drum until it finally seats all the way into the drive gear. Go ahead and put your shim here back on. And then because it's opposite thread, we went clockwise to loosen it. We're going to have to go counterclockwise to tighten it. Go ahead and put that in there. Go ahead and go counterclockwise. And I just go ahead and go ahead and put your cover back on. Don't forget to put your plate, that cover there. Go ahead and put your bar back on. Cover here, and that's it. And you're done. You're ready to get back to work and move forward and get your firewood chopped or whatever you got to do. So that's just basic overview of how to repair your saw, Husqvarna 338 XPT, and hope it helps out and helps you with your project. And thanks again for watching. Any questions or comments, posted below, and I'll get back with you as soon as possible. And please subscribe and like if you can. Thanks. Bye.